she's constantly playing with fire, and the metaphor of fire really is just about all of these forces in our life.
Hello, my name is Russ Milheim from The Direct. Thank you for talking to me today about the show.
I'm excited.
I've seen all 9 episodes, and it's great. So congratulations. My first question is, one of the early things audiences learn about Michelle is that she doesn't ever wear a seatbelt. In fact, she has jerry-rigged this thing in the car. Why is that, and how does that simple habit represent her as just a character and playing the deeper elements of just what makes her her?
Well, it says a lot about her because she's drawn to danger. She's drawn to the things that will destroy her. She's in a pattern of destruction, creation, destruction, creation. And the trauma that she has from her childhood and her relationship with her mother really informs the way she sees the world. She's constantly playing with fire, and the metaphor of fire really is just about all of these forces in our life, whether it's a toxic relationship with her boss, who's married, who she breaks up with when he leaves his wife, like she's constantly dancing on the edge. Why? And that's part of what Dennis and I wanted to explore with Michelle is why do we do that as human beings?
The show has some extremely flawed protagonists in it. Really, none are contenders for Best Person of the Year.
Right.
How do you feel that elevates the story that you are telling?
Oh, I don't know whether it elevates or not. I just don't know any other way to write characters. I don't really write good guys. I don't really write bad guys. I just kind of write people, and I think most people are pretty messed up. So, yeah, that's kind of... I did note one thing, that ever since I started writing, I always built characters from the flaw out. I don't go from what makes them strong. I tend to go from what makes them weak or what makes them... Because I find flaws are interesting. I don't find, the guy in the white hat all that interesting.
Now, fire is obviously the main focus of the story.
Yep.
But how does that permeate throughout the entire story you're telling, further than just it literally being about fires, but like on a thematic, and narrative level?
The operating word for us when we were writing the show was chaos. We just felt like it was about chaos. And fire is the most chaotic thing in the world. I mean, fire is very hard to control, particularly if it's allowed to fester in the wild. And so we took that, and by we I mean the writers, we took that as a way into all our characters as well. There's a lot of emotional fires in the show, and there's a lot of psychological fires in the show, and there's a lot of this physical fire in the show as well. But it's all fire all the time in a lot of ways.
I do have to ask, what are, in your mind, what are the long-term plans here? How many seasons do you maybe want to go for? Have you mapped out what maybe a long-term looks like for this story?
I want to go 3. Whether Apple wants to go 3 will depend on how many people show up and watch it. But I want to do 3. And I have a very strong sense of how those three will end. I never know how I'm going to get to my ends, but I usually know what my ends are.
Well, the first act was great, so hopefully you get to keep going.
That'd be great.
Fire is obviously, the main focus of the story, but it's both on a literal but also a thematic level. What does that through line mean for your respective characters?
I think that's true. I think all of the, characters are kind of drawn to things that are bad for them. And I do think that that they're all struggling with issues that are getting a little bit out of hand as time goes on. And, I think that's one of the great things about Dennis's writing is the complexity of the characters. Certainly the case here. I play the chief of fire, who I think is actually looking for a simple exit at this point, late in his career, and just wants to quietly find that side door. And a series of fires have taken place in this small town of Umberland, and kind of sets in motion not only problems involving the issue of fire and arson, but there's a personal issue also some personal issues that are kind of inflamed, for want of a better word. So, and that's my character. I think I could go through every one of these characters that are kind of internally on fire as well. So it's good writing from that standpoint. You know, at the broad end, yes, it is a story about arson, but the personal journeys are really equally arresting.
Whenever your characters are in the same room together, they don't really get along too well. So what do these two people think of each other? What is that dynamic?
I guess it's you know, there's a little bit of a turf fight going on here, and I think they both feel slightly threatened by the other's positioning in this. You know, that's a dynamic you've seen in crime drama before, of course. I like the way it's handled. It's not. I don't think we over push the issue, but it's there. It's an unspoken thing, and I actually think they'd probably get along pretty well under other circumstances. But we got a mystery to solve here.
Freddy is an outcast. You know, can you help paint a picture of why and how he has gotten to the point that the show finds him in at the start?
He, as Dennis Lehane described, is the loneliest man on the planet. He's gone through an upbringing that has left him ostracized in ways that we could barely fathom, I can imagine. I never thought I could fill this man's shoes because the extremes that which he's gone through, it's hard to conceive, really. So I think for me, the challenge was like wondering how to pull this off. And that puzzle was solved for me by Dennis Lehane when he said, use your imagination. You know, that is your greatest ally and tool at this point.
Do you think that Freddy, you know, at this point has the ability to connect with another person, or is he really just kind of, he's long gone?
I think he hopes that he can connect with other people. He tries his best to connect with other people. He just doesn't have the skill set, the tools, the experience, the life experience to know how to do so. His life experience has left him calloused, wounded, numb to other people's pain. He knows his tool of survival is to lash out and destroy. And in the end, you know, not just destroy others, destroy everything around him.